What's up? Welcome in to another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. It is a Tuesday, and yes, both here. Go figure. As we get ready for an hour of conversation that can go all over the place here after the weekend and week that was. Man, there's a lot to get into. Oh, we lost power. Did something get unplugged?
That's one. There we go.
Oh, we're back. Not sure what happened. Power surge of some sort. Let's start with Penn State football because that is exactly right. So we have Penn State football, Goon, just like everybody was expecting. Outback Bowl, right? All the predictions were, it looks like Penn State's going to the Outback Bowl. Was there anybody? And in fairness, it's because, and I was right there with you, so I'm not, we forget. Once you get outside of the playoffs, kids, this is for the bowls about how many fannies can we get in the seat and how many eyeballs can we get on the TV set. It has nothing to do. Everybody was, a Pinstripe Bowl, maybe Las Vegas, best case scenario, maybe Music City. It's like, well, no, it's Penn State and it's alumni base and so Penn State is going to the Outback Bowl, and it's been a while. I mean, you understand why the bowl wants Penn State. Tremendous draw for that area, and because Penn State hasn't been there in a while, 13 years. The Penn State fans, I think 2009, right, was the last 6, so even longer, 15 years.
My last game.
Yeah, Outback Bowl appearance. So, people want to go. Are going to want to go see that, obviously, for Penn State, and I think the matchup. I know there was some interest in Kentucky just because of the quarterback situation there, but from a program standpoint, I think it's neat facing a team that has some history to it and has some name recognition like Arkansas that you haven't faced before. Yep. So I think. At least for me as a fan, I'm excited and I like it. I don't think Penn State is deserving of it. And again, I also just forgot how much this is all about money. And again, in this case, it works very much to Penn State's benefit. But I do think it's for Penn State fans. I mean, I think this is not as good. It's better than you could have hoped for, both in terms of matchup and interest. And listen, at the end of the day, it's two of the most overrated programs at the end of September, right? Or teams. I'm not programs, but I mean, both these teams going into October, right? People were talking about, if they were going to jockey for position in the college football playoffs, and neither ended up anywhere close to that. But it is still a ranked opponent here for Penn State. And again, one more opportunity to get a good win, not a signature win, but a good win under your belt going into next season.
Question, and Booch, I want you to answer this from afar too, and that is, why the hell did we not go to a bowl game last year? Because it's the same scenario. If you really think about it, it's a lesser known, fall, this and that, but you're going to use this, and this is why I never understood why we didn't go to a bowl game last year. You could have had a 500 record. You could have beat an SEC team in a bowl game and build momentum towards this season, okay? So, we pretty much similar. Just last year, the first half stunk. This year, the second half stunk. We don't deserve to go to a bowl, but you're going to a very good bowl. Actually, as a Outback Bowl participant, it is a fantastic bowl.
Oh, I've been there a couple of times as a member of the media, and it is a whole lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
There's no doubt about that.
For the kids, and let's just go back to last year as a reward for the kids. Why wouldn't they do this last year type of thing? And I get the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, I think it was just the drain of that last year. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I also think it was just it's different when you're basically completely confined into your own little
I know. It just
entity.
alarms me and upsets me that we should have gone to a bowl game last year. I know the bowl experience wouldn't have been the same because of everything was shut down and all that.
Yeah.
But I get it. And I'm happy for the guys. It's a reward. Be happy that we have a great alumni and we travel really well. I mean, Arkansas is the same way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Who really did we jump over? Sparty went to a top 12 game.
Yeah, Iowa and Wisconsin, and Penn State beat Wisconsin. So, Wisconsin ended up with a better record and obviously finished much more strongly than Penn State did. Iowa's probably got the biggest beef. But again, just me personally, again, if I was an Iowa fan, yes, I'd be up in arms about it, and I think it's a perfectly reasonable stance for them to take. That being said, as a non-Iowa fan, again, even as low as they're ranked, it's still one of the most overrated teams in the country this season. That Michigan game that was Iowa. And listen, Penn State, and again, woulda, coulda, shoulda, I get it. But I'm sorry, that game was going to be very similar. That Penn State-Iowa game was going to be very similar to what you saw in that Michigan-Iowa game in the Big Ten Championship when Penn State was out in Iowa City if Sean Clifford stays healthy. I mean, and I can't prove that, but just an opinion, again, not worth any more or less than anybody else's, but I'm telling you, I feel like I know that the Penn State was absolutely going to crush those guys. So at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, you could make the argument that the Penn State maybe does deserve it, but not really. Again, you lost 5 games after 2-5 down the stretch. Is not a New Year's Day bowl worthy run.
I know I've missed the last 3 weeks and all, but man, it's been a pretty amazing 3 weeks. The last time I was on the show was before Michigan. So I had the Michigan loss, the Rutgers week with 75 kids being ill, and then Sparty coming in there with all their guys being sick and whatever. Again, I've been sick, so I've been confined in my home. So reading a lot of this and that. Is there real talk about reforming the Big Ten conferences, or is that just people complaining because the West has not won a Big Ten title game?
Yeah, I think
the
more
amount of scoring. It's like 42 to 16. It's just unbelievable how lopsided it is. Is there actually a real thought process going into Massimo?
Long-term rumors, if they go back down to 8 conference games, it might use the Big 12 model and take the 2 highest Big 10.
Yeah, I think that there's discussion, and yes, it depends on. It would involve restructuring, the schedules and how everything works down the road.
But I was worried. I never thought of. I know there's been some beatdowns in those games, but for the West to have never won any of them, not one. And then the fact that they're just there's not been a close game or not been a really, really good game. They're all pretty much blowouts. It's crazy. So I'm watching that Michigan-Iowa game the other night. I'm talking to my little brother and some other guys. We're just texting like we do for the Penn State game. And when that fullback turned the wrong way and tripped and did not catch that touchdown, he goes, "It's over. Michigan by a million tonight." And the only chance they had against Michigan was to put a little bit of pressure on them early. And if they had scored that touchdown, I think the pressure would have jumped on to Michigan real good. And Michigan's proved over and over they're a pretty good damn team.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, Michigan's a much more physical team.
42-3.
And they're just more athletic. Again, Iowa, that offense is just awful. There's no other way to put it. It's just a bad offense.
Yeah, it was not a fun game to watch, and there's no doubt.
Now that being said, there was a lot of
Pitt, I'm watching a Pitt over to Michigan.
There was a lot of fun football on Saturday, and I was talking with a buddy before that Georgia Alabama game, and not that I was necessarily predicting it, but I'm like, when everybody is telling you that Alabama is a clear underdog, and Alabama, that is not exactly a program lacking in talent from top to bottom. And they're hearing all week how Georgia is heads and shoulders above. I mean, the last thing you want to do is give Nick Saban and an Alabama team. And, I mean, it's nothing Georgia did. I mean, it's just that, but, and again, I think throughout the course of the season, right? I mean, I think even everybody was accurate. And yes, throughout the course of the regular season, Georgia was up here and everybody else down here. But again, it's college football, and you give a team that type of motivation. And listen, they know they can play with Georgia, right? I mean, there's not even a seed of a doubt within that Alabama program that they can beat Georgia, right? With any of those players. So it's not like it's one of those things where, all right, well, let's see early on if we can. I mean, they go in there knowing darn well, listen, we're fast enough, big enough, strong enough, all of that. Like, it's not going to be a mismatch in that regard. And, you know, it will be interesting if those two teams do meet again.
I would take Georgia.
Yeah, I think I would too. I'm not sure they're going to have that opportunity. I'm not sure they're going to have that opportunity, though, Goon. And it kills me to say it because I despise the Harbaugh brothers, but I do think that Michigan team has this year's Michigan team has figured a whole lot out. And listen, I think there's going to be much the same talk. Now it's a little different situation. Again, Alabama's been there, done that. They have no doubt, and it's easy for them to go out there feeling confident. But talk going into that game is we lost power again. Oh, it's just bizarre. We're back.
Here we go.
I don't know why we're losing power. I do think when you look at that, the week leading up to that game, and for that matter, the month leading up to that game, the Michigan-Georgia game I'm talking about, everybody is going to be talking about, you know, Georgia, SEC speed, Big Ten overrated, all of this stuff, and it is going to be fuel for Michigan. And I'm not generally a big believer. I do think it factored into Alabama's win Saturday, and I think Nick Saban basically said that in the post-game press conference. But I do think Michigan's going to have a whole lot of motivation. And listen, Michigan has plenty of talent. I don't think they're going to get blown off the field by any stretch. And I will not be surprised if Michigan not only wins that game, I won't be surprised if Michigan ends up winning the national title. The only thing that would truly surprise me, and nothing would shock me in college football anymore, but I will be surprised if Cincinnati is the team that is hoisting the trophy at the end of the day. And it would be a great story for college football, right? Like as a somebody that doesn't really have, I despise Michigan, but I don't really have strong feelings one way or the other with Alabama or Georgia. So I'll be kind of pulling for Cincinnati just because it really would be a great story. Absolutely. I think Cincinnati is going to get absolutely blasted. Alabama, and I think there's a lot of people that will be thinking that as well going into that game.
Yeah. We're talking about Michigan and there's your boy Johnny Hardball up there.
Yeah,
you love them on Saturday.
I did like that.
I'm talking about Michigan, and they are committed. They're possessed, and they're wound up. They are ready to go. And my brother-in-law is a huge Ohio State fan. So Thanksgiving week, we're getting ready to watch, Michigan and Ohio State, and he's talking, and I'm like, listen, and Ohio State and Alabama are very similar offenses. They can get pressure. What's going on here? We are in and out, man.
We're back on.
If they can get pressure on that quarterback from Ohio State, obviously they're going to win that game. And I was like, well, their passing game is too quick. It's too screenish. It's too this and that. But I'm telling you, Michigan's D-line got to Ohio State, and they kicked their booty. Jeez. Yeah, we lost. Is it on here? Let's just
on again. I don't know.
Just, yeah.
Well, that's coming in and out now too. The screen.
Oh, that might be something down here with the system. Well, we'll carry on.
Yeah, we're talking about Ohio State is very similar to an Alabama or Georgia at that. If we're going to say that offensively, and that is that they can get pressure on the quarterback. It's a game changer.
Always the case.
I was ecstatic yesterday when I saw that Aiden Hutchinson is getting invited to the Heisman.
Yeah, as
a Heisman finalist, because I know it's never going to happen, but that kid deserves to win the Heisman. I'm sorry, there's not a better player in this country, who has done everything he said about this whole season to go out and we're going to bring Michigan back, and he has done everything he talked and about the whole season. Who was the long Winovich? Remember, he was going to have the revenge tour last year, and then they absolutely got smoked by a couple teams. So, I mean, exactly what he was doing, Winovich was doing. Hutchinson came out and said pretty much the same thing, that we got to bring Michigan back and this and that. And dude, he is an absolute werewolf out there.
Yep.
Happy that he's invited to the Heisman. Not a chance he's going to win it, but if there is a season that a non-quarterback's going to win, it would be this one. I really think that he should get votes, and I think that he will in a crazy world. But I know they got to play since they got to play Georgia, and that's gonna be a mad Georgia team, man. It's gonna be not a very happy Georgia team, and they got to be ready to rock and roll for that. It is. I love the playoffs because Cincinnati is going out there. Michigan and Cincinnati are. Michigan has had. I mean, you're right. Michigan is not like they're not talented. They're top 5 recruiting classes the last 5 years. Just Harbaugh actually put it all together this year, made it all work, and it happened, and they got it done. Cincinnati, same thing. I mean, they had a few things go their way. I'm happy that they're in it. You should be happy. You've been talking about it since day one. A non-Power 5 guy getting in there, they're the first one. So
no, I am.
It should be interesting, but I mean, I know it pains me to say it, but I'm actually happy that Michigan is. Now my question is.
I want this to be the last time for centuries, though, that Michigan is in there.
It was a pretty long time. What was it, 2003?
Yeah, I want it to be like a century or more until we deal with this again.
Michigan deserved the 1 or Bama gets the 1? Bama went from 4 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are legitimate arguments for both teams. At the end of the day, and listen, I mean, Alabama seems to always get the benefit of the doubt, right? But at the end of the day, truly, I think because of at least the perception, and I think, again, the reality of the results up until that Alabama game with what Georgia did this year, Georgia was rightfully being perceived as up here and everybody else. And we talked about it. I mean, it doesn't mean that on any given day, like you saw, I mean, I think I said a couple of times that there's probably 9 or 10 teams that are capable. Yeah, if Georgia has an off day or you get a couple of turnovers or whatever. I mean, I don't think Georgia's invincible, but clearly throughout the course of the regular season, it was Georgia up here and then a drop off to the next tier and then another drop off to that third tier. And again, I think there were more in that second tier than there's been in a number of years as well. But I think Alabama's win over Georgia, right, is more impressive than anything else, either team, or for that matter, any team, any win any team had this season. I do think Michigan, I mean, I think there's a case to be made there because of the overall strength of schedule and Michigan's ability to handle other very good teams. Again, Alabama had a couple of in addition to the loss, had a couple of very close calls, and that loss to Texas A&M was not a good loss at the end of the day. I mean, not a Penn State, Illinois type of loss, but not a good loss for Alabama. So that loss, I think, for Alabama is worse than Michigan's loss, but again, that
We
win,
go back and forth on them all the time. It's like I can sit there and say, well, who was Georgia's big win? Why did they have so much love and credo? They really don't have a big win.
No, but they hammered everybody. They hammered good teams.
7 points allowed a game in the SEC.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
It is, and so at the end of the day, I think you can make a strong argument. You got to rank somebody 1 and somebody 2, and I can almost flip a coin. I just think at the end of it, and Michigan's win over Ohio State was very impressive as well. Again, you're talking about splitting hairs here.
And they didn't want Alabama and Georgia to play in the first round. I understand that, but just don't. I hate how they try to hide. I mean, just say it. Just come out and say it. We don't want a rematch.
Yeah, but I don't even know. I mean, I think that's also true, but like I said, I think it's. I don't think this is like some sort of a crime against humanity that Michigan isn't ranked number 1. I mean, I think there's a very legitimate, strong argument for Alabama. Again, you got to. One of them has to be 1, and one of them has to be 2. And I don't. At the end of the day, no matter which way they went, I would have been okay with it. I just don't think there's a lot separating those two. And listen, all 4 of these teams that ended up in, I think, again, on any given day, I think are capable of putting everything together. I think I'm curious to see how Cincinnati handles everything. Again, Alabama, just the experience that the Tide can draw on, and obviously when you're talking about the talent pool on that Alabama roster, I mean it's not comparable what Cincinnati has just in terms of sheer athleticism. And that's not to say, don't read into that oh my God, Cincinnati's not talented. Alabama is getting the best of the best every year out of high school. That is not what Cincinnati is getting. Cincinnati got a bunch of good players. They've played for a few years together. They bought into the system. And again, it is a good team. And I'm not sitting here telling you there's no chance against Alabama, but I'm telling you there's a reason, and it is a very good reason why Alabama is going to be a prohibitive favorite going into that game.
And I am on the big believer in Harbaugh will use this slate of all of them.
Oh, sure.
They didn't want us there at number 1. We're number 2. He's been a magician all year. It pains me to say that, but as you know, my buddy Scott Kehoe's son Jimmy Rolder just committed to Michigan in the last month, so he keeps on sending me. I'm like, dude, you got to do it slow. I can't say go blue. I will never say go blue, not as of yet.
No.
But, I mean, I'm watching this and yes. So I'm watching all these games and I'm thinking, because I'm talking to Scott and he's, talking about this and that. He was at the game. He was sending me pregame stuff, and it's just I think that this Michigan team has got one of those they're on a mission. You know what I mean? I don't know. Another way to explain it than that, but Cincinnati is too. But this is par for the course for Alabama, and I go back. They were sitting there saying, "Could Georgia beat Alabama again?" I think that they're so mental. It's almost like a mental thing. It's almost like the Ohio State Michigan thing. You got to get over that big old hurdle of beating that Alabama team, and I just, they were some good games this weekend, and really enjoyed watching. I can't wait to watch the playoffs.
I did. Were you as fascinated by me, just real quickly on the other games that you saw? That Oklahoma State Baylor game, I found it very interesting that when the quarterback, when the ball falls short of the goal line, that they apparently in the Big 12 they have different rules than the Big 10, where it's not a touchdown, whereas in Penn State, Indiana, it's a touchdown. I thought if you got in the neighborhood, right? Isn't that the way that's?
Well, you should have heard my phone at that point. I was like, bing, 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 and I got like 30 text messages. That's a touchdown against Indiana. That's a touchdown Indiana. Touchdown Indiana.
Yeah.
But what an ending! Holy crap!
Yep.
I did not. I'd have lost $1 million saying he's not going to get him. When he took that ball and bounced it, I said, "Oh, that's game. It was over.
Amazing.
It's done. This and that.
Amazing effort.
I could not believe what I saw when that guy made that tackle and he didn't get in. But that's the first thing I thought as soon as I saw him reach and hit, skid, and then hit the pylon. Ah, boy.
And I will say, for the College Football Playoff Committee, things could not have worked out any better, right? Like, it is clearly, and I'm not. I'm not as convinced as some are that those are necessarily the 4 best teams in the country, but those are the 4 best resumes. And that is right. I mean, because of Cincinnati's win over Notre Dame, like that, it is clear cut this year who the 4 teams in the playoffs should be. And thanks to Oklahoma State's loss by an inch, or maybe a few inches to Baylor, that became clear cut.
What a week Notre Dame fans had. Think about that.
How about
they were this close to getting in. If Baylor loses or Baylor wins, beat Oklahoma State. Okay, we're going to jump up one more. Okay, if Iowa can beat Michigan, we'll get in. We'll get in. Let alone the whole Kelly thing and everything that went down. We'll talk about. I want to talk about the coaches carousel, but did you see? I watch games differently than you and Booch probably do. I watch games as an offensive lineman, and I watch a lot of how the players react to, like, if a guy gets a sack, who was celebrating with him? Is it just like nobody does anything, and it's like these guys don't like that kid? If your quarterback gets sacked and he's not getting 5 hands to pick him up from his offensive line, they don't like him. I have to say that speech from the Schwarbuck in the Notre Dame locker room when he introduced Freeman and said he's your new next head coach with Notre Dame, and he came running in there.
Yeah, Freeman's going to have a very hard time winning over that locker room, right? It's going to be a battle.
I could not believe. I said, dude, they love this guy. I mean, that was really, really amazing. It was odd to see.
It's funny too that the reactions both there in Oklahoma with watching just some of the national media, and it's just how things have changed, and it wasn't a criticism in either case of the hire per se, but the number of people I saw on TV saying, yeah, but you just don't know because they're no head coaching experience, so this is more of a roll of the dice, as if every coach who has had success as a head coach at one school, it automatically, definitively transfers over. I mean, have you paid any attention to what has happened? And again, I mean, it's cliche, but I mean, Joe Paterno wasn't Joe Paterno until Penn State hired him. He had no head coaching experience. I mean, you go through the long list of coaches, Barry Switzer. I mean, coaches who have become legendary figures. Well, yeah, they had to get that first opportunity. And yes, I just don't buy that. Well, yeah, but if you're a Notre Dame or an Oklahoma or you're an established program, you ought to be able to get a quote unquote home run hire, meaning somebody that's already been a head coach and has won big. I don't buy that. If the guy is the right fit, and again, sometimes you don't know that until, and listen, you never know for sure. I don't care. Nick Saban if Nick Saban took the LSU job again now, you're telling me that guaranteed that LSU, I mean, yeah, do I think that would work? Sure, I absolutely do. But there's not a guarantee. Like, dynamics change. The whole situation is different.
He's not walking into Bob Stoops' program. He's walking into USC, who has absolutely just been getting throttled.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's got to prove. And I do want to talk about how Harbaugh came out and made that pretty hardcore comment about. I mean, they're saying, "Oh, he wasn't directed at Ryan Day." 100% was directed at Ryan Day. People are born on third base and act like they hit a triple. Ryan Day walked into Urban Meyer's program, and he lost one Big Ten game.
Yeah.
And then Harbaugh's, the guy acting like that. But Lincoln Riley's the same guy. He's the exact same guy. He took over a program that was completely stacked. Loaded. Now he's got to go to the USC program and do what James Franklin did at Penn State, and that's rebuild it. Does he have a past doing that? We don't know.
But again, there is. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. There is something that is not to take away, right, from what Riley or Day have done, because there's been other coaches who have walked into great situations and it has not gone well. Yep. So that, there is still something to getting the talent that was, yes, recruited by other people, but getting them to buy in to you. And yeah, listen, I mean, with all of these situations, when it comes to coaches, right, everything is fluid. Last year, at this time, right? Well, not at this time, but in a couple of months, 10 months ago, right? Everybody, I mean, it was clear-cut, definitive. Tom Brady over Bill Belichick. I mean, Brady, that was the operation, right? I mean, Belichick, now you see Belichick has been exposed. And listen, I was listening to and national media, not saying that Belichick was a fraud or anything like that, but saying, listen, the problem is it's going to be a long rebuilding process for New England because of the cap situation and the money situation. And again, it's going to be a while till they can get this built. Well, now, and again, we'll see how it finishes up. It can swing back. Anybody that thinks they know for sure how this NFL season is going to end, I'm here to tell you you're full of it. Even if you make a prediction and you're right, you don't know that, right? Yeah. I mean, Green Bay, Kansas City, a month ago, I would have told you, listen, I still think could be a dangerous team in the playoffs, but not going to be the team that everybody is fearing. Right now, I think that could be the case again. But again, in another couple of weeks, if New England stumbles over the next couple of weeks, it is, again, a very fluid situation. And as a Steelers fan, no more fluid program in the NFL right now than the Steelers, where 4 weeks into the season, everybody, including me, off the bandwagon. Okay, we know now this isn't a championship team. Wait a second. This might be the best team. Oh, wait a second. They stink. And now, again, I don't know. Might be in the playoffs. Might be a dangerous team in the playoffs. Might not be anywhere near the playoffs when this thing is said and done.
Bill Belichick set the game of football back 50 years last night by throwing the ball 3 times.
That was
unbelievable.
It truly was unreal.
3 passes the whole game, and they win. It's unbelievable. And they can say, I'm sorry, I keep on saying Harbaugh. Belichick, you cannot convince me that he didn't take last year off. He said, you know what, I'm going to back off here a little bit. It's a really weird year with this COVID thing. They got rid of all their players. They stacked up, and they loaded it up, and they went on the free agent market last year and blew it up. You cannot tell me that he didn't, like – it's just was like, you know what, it's gonna be a weird year. I'm gonna check this one out, catch my breath here a little bit, and then everybody was all over his crap about Tom Brady was Belichick's nothing. He's just the same Cleveland Browns coach that was there in 1995, and nothing's really different. But he got lucky and got Tom Brady. Okay, Brady goes and wins the Super Bowl, and now you pick up Mac Jones and you win the game right now, throwing 3 passes.
No, yeah, in today's NFL,
when are they going to change the name? When's it going to be the Lombardi Belichick? It has to be.
Well, I mean, truly, is there anybody, if you go back to the start of the season, I dare say there is not a human being on the planet who would have said an NFL coach who throws the ball 3 times in a game is going to emerge victorious, let alone beat the team that many, including me, at the start of the season said, listen, this is the team to beat in the NFL, not just in the AFC.
They were not playing the Jets.
And one of the reasons I felt that way was because of the physicality, right? It's like if you told me the way the Patriots, and I'm talking again, going back to the start of the season, the Patriots are just going to throw the ball 3 times and they're going to beat the Bills in December. I mean, I would have laughed at that, would have gotten a good chuckle, but would not have thought that's even remotely within the scheme of
almost called
possibility.
Sunday night and say, well, Tuesday's show's going to be a whole different world because you went from possibly just the Steelers being done. All right, they're back in this thing.
Yeah, I will say this AFC North down the stretch is just going to be a wild ride. And again, I'm just at this point now, I'm just sitting back. I'm not making any predictions. I'm just going to see. I won't be I'll be disappointed if the Steelers lose the rest of the way out, but I won't be shocked, and I'll be thrilled, but I won't be all that surprised if they win the rest of the way out. I mean, and same for the Ravens, same for the Bengals, same for the Browns. The Bengals were the one team I thought, okay, now this, I don't know for sure how the Ravens but man, the Bengals have clearly figured it out. And then what in the world happened there?
Schizophrenic team,
like
they
I don't know if they just got too caught up in the win over Pittsburgh and the that this is our division now. Well, yeah, but you gotta still take care of business against teams like the Vikings.
Did you watch any of that game?
And I did not watch any of it. No, we were up.
As you know, a red zone guy. So the game's on, and I'm all over the place. But I'm like, it's like 23, 22, nothing. I'm like, who the hell are these Bengals? They're horrible.
Yeah,
I can't believe this. And then boom, 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 they're up. And then they go down and they give up another 20 more points.
Yeah.
It was they're completely schizophrenic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two teams. There's two teams of them, and the Steelers are two teams. The Eagles are two teams. You have no idea which one's going to show up.
Well, I will say, and listen, I didn't watch any of the Eagles game, but yes, aside from Minshew, is it just me? And again, I'm not watching. I'm really not. I haven't even watched. I've probably actually seen about half of the Steelers games, even. So I'm not watching as much NFL as I'd like to or usually do. But I am looking at the statistics and stuff. It is amazing how when you run the ball and you remember to hand the ball off to your running back, that you at least give yourself a better chance. Do you not? I mean, I get the Minshew mania and all of that, but Miles Sanders getting 100-plus yards on the ground that's a pretty good recipe for trying to win football games in the NFL.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Amazing how that works, isn't it? You get a ground game, all of a sudden your passing game opens up. Holy crap. Who would have thunk this?
Well, and
but
to that end,
my God,
I do want to see what Penn State is able to do, if anything, on the ground against Arkansas, going back to where we started the discussion today, because whether they get it rectified for that game or not, this thing moving forward, this thing being Penn State football, again, you're watching these games and you're watching the team. I mean, Michigan running past Ohio State, literally. Michigan State. You have got to run the football. And, I mean, James Franklin obviously knows this. And, I'm not saying to the extent that you abandon the pass game. Obviously, we saw how important the pass can be in Alabama's win over Georgia. But you've got to have some semblance of balance, and you have to be able to pound out some tough yards from time to time. And, again, I don't know for sure whether it's the scheme of that's the thing for me is I feel like it's a little bit of everything. I think that offensive line is not where it needs to be to make that happen consistently. I do think the running backs were not consistent enough in hitting the hole hard and being decisive. I do like the way Kevon finished up the season, yes. And it feels like he's the guy moving forward. But listen, honestly, over the last couple of years, I thought at different points, oh my gosh, Noah Cain, that's your guy. That you got to ride him. And I thought it with Devin Ford when in his first couple of games. I'm like, holy cow, they found their home run hitter. So, but Lee feels at this moment like the guy that can take that next step going into next season. But again, so I don't know if it's scheme, running backs, offensive line, coaching. I feel like it's a little bit of all of that. But one thing that I do think Penn State needs to take a long, hard look at, just as a program, is the strength training program. And listen, this is just observing from, afar, which is obviously always a little dangerous. But there are just too many injuries and too many times where we lost power again. Too many times where we had injuries and there we go. I won't hit the table.
I feel like Fonzie right now.
Yeah, let's not do it.
Jukebox plays.
I'll stay off the table. I promise. Listen, I think that the strength program is an area, and again, I'm not telling you that I know definitively they have to make changes. I think they need to take a look at it because a couple of things. This team did not up well in the fourth quarter of key games this year. Two, there were, and listen, I get football injuries occur. It felt like there were an abnormal number of injuries for this team this season compared to some of the other programs out there. Again, and it could be fluky stuff. I'm not sitting here telling you again definitively that I know they need to change this, and I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what they should be doing.
You're not the first person to say this to me.
But I'm telling you, it feels like that needs to be looked at to me. And again, maybe you look at it and say, no, by God, we're doing everything right, and this was fluky, and fine. I mean, but I think. And listen, I mean, and James Franklin has taught about it. I mean, you got to, at the end of every season, right, you have to assess everything in your program. So that's part of it. But it feels like that is an area that maybe needs to.
Last 3 or 4 years, the fourth quarters have been bad.
Yeah.
Trying to hold up in leads. And
well, and again, between that and injuries and it just feels like an area that again needs examination anyway internally to try to figure some things out. Going back to the running game. I mean, part of it and part of my very mild critique of the strength training program here, strength training and conditioning, is again this offensive line is not making the strides that we've been expecting year to year, right? And that's not to say that they're not making strides, but they're not making the strides that you would expect. And listen, they're definitely not making the strides that they need to for this program to take that next step that James Franklin talked about a couple of years ago to become elite. That is not where this this program is right now. And I think part of that is certainly on the offensive line and just being able to grind out the tough yards and stop an opponent from getting the tough yards.
Well, I don't know what it is, but it just seems like we do not hit a hole with any kind of speed ever.
I agree.
And I laugh on Sundays watching the Giants play because I'm like, Jesus. Could you imagine if Saquon Barkley in his lifetime had like a toss play that he had a lead fullback in this and that where he actually hit the line of scrimmage with speed? I swear to God, every time one of our guys touches the ball, or even Saquon, he's got to dodge a tackle instantly, and then he has to start. He has to come to a complete stop, make a move, and then go. And it's just crazy. You're saying scheme, players, I don't know what it is, coaching. I swear to God, I don't think I've ever seen a team who just every time we run the ball, it's like we have to go from prone to going instead of just hitting the hole as fast as you possibly can and making something happen.
Yeah,
it's alarming that I'm watching you brought up Michigan's offensive line and how they controlled that game, and I literally had tears in my eyes watching that offensive line play the other day against Ohio State. I could not believe how bad. They just beat the living crap out of a very good Ohio State front seven, and they just said, "Hey, we're coming." And I had tears in my face, and my heart was on my. I couldn't believe it. I was crying. I mean, that's as an offensive lineman, that's what you want.
Yeah,
I have not seen that in how long here.
Yeah.
Again, is it strength? Is it position players? Is it coaches? Is it scheme? Are we not getting the players to do this? But I swear to God, I don't think I've seen a Penn State running back or anybody hit a hole full speed going 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
With a pulling guard in front of them on a lead block. Do we have a power play? I don't think we do. It's crazy to think about.
Real quickly, just a few quick hitters before we wrap things up today. I still do like the overall trajectory of Penn State basketball right now under Shrewsbury. That's a very good Ohio State team, and I liked a lot of the things we saw during the course of that game. Obviously, I think as these kids get more and more time together, some of these turnovers will be eliminated. But I like the fight. I like the athleticism. I think it's just, again, more figuring some things out. And listen, you're obviously going against some really, really good programs here in the Big Ten. So even if you do figure everything out and put it all together, that's not going to guarantee wins in a conference like the Big Ten this season. But I really do like, to this point, still everything I'm seeing from Shrewsbury, both with off-court decisions and with what they're doing and what they're implementing on the court right now.
I'm with you 100%. He's doing a heck of a job, and transfer portal is such a difference in rebuilding a program.
Yeah,
look at Mel Tucker at Michigan State. I mean, they had 4 or 5 guys who came in and played right away.
Key guys.
He made $95 million on that transfer portal.
Yeah, it was pretty good to him, no doubt about that. Tough end of the season for Penn State women's volleyball. The last thing you ever want to see is a Penn State team lose to Pitt at the end of the season. Awful there, but just back in the tournament, still the only program that's been in every NCAA tournament since women's volleyball went to the NCAA postseason format. And congratulations to the State High football team here locally. Just a remarkable postseason run coming to an end against a very strong Mount Lebanon squad. But even in that game, 49-28, and listen, Mount Lebanon's offense and that receiver just truly ridiculous. But I thought, State High played a good game. I mean, it was, again, 49-28, I guess, depends how you want to look at it, as to relatively lopsided, I guess, with the final score. But you felt listening and watching that game that, State High deserved to be there. It didn't feel like, oh my gosh, they're just completely outmatched. And again, it was a fun run. Hate to see it come to an end, but getting to the state semifinals after a slightly disappointing regular season, I think is a really big deal for that program moving forward.
Interesting to see how St. Joe's Prep does against Lebo.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that.
I am as well.
I personally think it's going to be, State College High might be happy they didn't go to Hershey.
Yeah,
it could be one of those type of games, and that'd be unbelievable because Lebo, they really.
That's a really good team, and that offense is legit. But I'm with you. It may be running into a little much here in the state championship game. And just real quick, Penn State wrestling. First of all, kudos to both Penn and Lehigh for the teams that they have put together. Those are both really good teams. I'm not sure in the national tournament that they're built for a lot of success, because they don't have a lot of guys that are clear-cut All-Americans. I think they each have – Lehigh certainly has some kids that I think will get on the podium. But they both are really good dual meet teams and just solid top to bottom. Both have a couple of relative holes, but really good kids at 7 or 8 weight classes for both of those teams this season. And, hopefully Penn State gets healthy here for the National Collegiate Duels down in Niceville, Florida. And again, if you haven't seen, the matchups are set. So Penn State will wrestle on that Monday, December 20th. Penn State will wrestle Central Michigan at 11 a.m. and then Cornell at 1 p.m. And then if Penn State wins both of those duels, big if, but if Penn State wins both those duels, likely that Nittany Lions would face Arizona State, which will be favored in its poll on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Panhandle, Niceville, Florida.
Panhandle, okay.
Yeah. So, yep. So that'll be December 20th and 21st. Couple weeks off. Pretty much. That's, yep. Pretty much it. Oh, yeah. Yep, looking forward to it.
Oh, you hate that trip.
Dreading it.
Oh, I don't want to go.
Yeah, usually we're going to either somewhere in Pennsylvania, New York, or a Big Ten
Wrestling
town.
Cornell,
So,
you're like, oh, I can't wait. It's so beautiful this time of year.
yeah, no, looking forward to the wrestling as well as the weather for that time of the year. But some good wins.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it'll be hopefully the full healthy Penn State lineup that we'll see down in Florida. So.
I mean, how many teams have gone through it right now?
Yeah, the flu bug, and it's been largely the flu bug. There's some COVID protocol, not COVID positive tests, but with contact tracing and all of that. And yeah, so hopefully, knock on wood, we get. Oh, what am I doing? Don't knock on wood. Hopefully, again, we'll be able to see really for the first time the projected starting lineup for the postseason down in Niceville for those three
goals. Is it good that they get some time off and they're not wrestling full time?
Yeah,
all their guys.
Well, I think for a couple of reasons it is. One is yes, I think this is a good time of the year to get training in, and listen, they'll be able to do some more individualized training because of finals and everything. Because I think this is the final week of classes, yes. And then finals coming up next week. So. Yeah, this week I think they'll be going very hard in the room and working on the cardio to a great degree. Then next week I think it'll be more again just figuring out individual schedules and getting the guys what they need. Still get some hard blows for sure on Monday and Tuesday, and then again try to just. Get everybody as rested and ready to go toward the end of the week for that Florida trip. But I also think it's been a blessing in disguise with some of the injuries and illnesses early here that, a guy like Donovan Ball, who, is just a terrific kid and out of Cedar Cliff, got an opportunity to compete this weekend with Aaron Brooks out and gets two big wins. Yeah. Big for him individually, but listen, they were important wins for both of the dual meets and especially on Friday night. And I think, you've seen Baylor Shunk get the opportunity, Jake Campbell getting to wrestle in front of the Rec Hall fans on Sunday, I think was special. And you've seen, again, just some different guys that you might not normally get to see in that starting lineup. And I think it's just, one, good for them for memories that they'll be able to keep the rest of their lives. But also, listen, again, like football, I mean, wrestling is a sport of injuries. If a couple of these guys do go down, and you're obviously hoping that's not the case, but now you have some guys that have a little more experience under their belt. And I think in the case of like a Donovan Ball for sure, and even a Baylor Shunk, a little more confidence now about what they can do if called upon at this level. So, I think there's some good things down the road. I do think the NCAA wrestling championships this year, as we've talked about, are just going to be wild if everybody's healthy because of all of the kids now that are going to be in the mix. Plus, the team race, I mean, everybody's talking about Iowa and Penn State. And listen, those two teams are certainly going to be in the mix. And I think at the end of the day, they will be two of the three teams. But I'm telling you, Michigan with Nick Soriano now added to that lineup, you look at that team top to bottom and the tournament scoring potential. That is a really dangerous team now. And I think both Big Tens and Nationals are just going to be a whole lot of fun to watch, both for the individual matchups and for the team races. And again, if you're a wrestling fan, this is a good time to be checking out the sport. Thursday show, we'll talk a little bit more about that Steelers-Vikings matchup on Thursday night. Don't love the fact that the Steelers are having to go on the road after an emotional and physical and grueling game like that against the Ravens. So that one worries me, and it's a big one. Make no mistake. It's a game that, on paper, I do think you favor the Steelers, even at Minnesota, very slightly. But when you look at the rest of the schedule, again, if the Steelers are planning to get to the playoffs, this feels like it's a game that you really need to get and really get back on good footing here for what is going to be a brutal and important stretch run here for the Steelers. So we'll talk about that and much more on Thursday's show. that is going to wrap things up for today from Quaker Steak and Lube. We appreciate your checking out the show once again, and we will be back on Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,